Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're back again with another top champion video, and this time we're going to be talking about cosmic champions. So this video is going to be top 5 cosmic champions in Marvel Contest of Champions, in my opinion, in December 2019 basically. So we do still have Mystic and Mutant classes left after this. Those videos will be going up live tomorrow because I do want to finish this bit before 2020, and then in January the 1st probably record top 5 champions in MCOC overall, and maybe start a Hall of Fame list. Either way, so we have to get to the cosmic champions, and let's just jump right in it. So we're going to filter out all of the cosmic champions, sort them out by hero rating, and we can start off with spot number 5. In spot number 5, I'm personally going to be placing Medusa still, and Medusa is one of those champions that has not really aged too well in my opinion. She has lost a lot of her sparkle, a lot of her allure. If it was today and my decision who to rank up in cosmic class, it probably wouldn't go to Medusa anymore, simply because I do firmly believe that most of for what she is fairly unique in the game, she's capable of doing at rank 4, not because I cannot recognize her kind of like unique marble bit of utility, and that is armor shattering robots and completely shafting them off over afterwards, either by dashback intercept or spamming heavy attacks in the corner, or you basically name your method of choice, but she destroys all robots in the game, which is not a large subset of champions when you take a look at the whole picture of MCOC. But however, these robot champions have ever been so present when it comes even back to Act 5, final boss is Ultron, then variant 1, obviously there's loads of those Ultron drones and Ultron bosses. Even in Act 6 we have some Sentinels over there in 6.1 that are extremely annoying. Again, Labyrinth of Legends Ultron as the final boss, I believe, or one of the final boss, or Sentinel is the final boss. I don't remember exactly, but I do know that they are definitely present throughout pretty much all of the top and end game content. And when it comes to absolutely destroying robots, even though there are a couple more champions that do fairly well, like Vision Arcus and Nebula for instance, she is the best, undoubtedly, because the only thing you have to do is basically get to your level 1 in most scenarios. Occasionally, if you do employ some synergies, then you can also spam some heavy attacks and just do a couple medium combos or something. There are several ways how you can trigger that armor shatter, but once you do, opponent has 0 ability accuracy, 0 power gain, they cannot gain any power, and the fight is yours. It's extremely simple to finish out from that point forward, and therefore she is pretty much the best at what she does. And even though it's a fairly specific kind of like niche utility, her base kit, which isn't like all that extensive, she has access to armor break, obviously, to some bleeds, to some stun debuff, she's poison immune and has fury buffs, and that skill set combined still is aging relatively well in itself, because Caustic Temper is a node which is quite annoying, where you need fury buffs and poison immunity, and she has both of the things, and there aren't that many champions who do. Additionally, she can do stuff like buffed up because she has quite high uptime of these fury buffs. There's a slight bit inbuilt of safety when you mess up if you have these furies active. Now, one of the downfalls is to access kind of like the best mode of Medusa. You do have to get in bed with Black Bolt and Karnak, and those champions are not really all that useful in endgame. Hopefully they get buffed one day though, and but all in all, even on her own, Medusa is the best answer for robot champions, and that, in my opinion, is quite timeless, and I don't think she will ever see anything higher on a top tier list, or maybe she's gonna slide off the top 5, but that piece of utility in itself is timeless, is valuable, and definitely should be recognized as such and given proper respect. So again, she probably isn't a champion I would recommend taking rank 5, especially early on, anymore anyways, but when it comes to having that toolkit, that niche utility, and if your account is getting more advanced, then it's a decent idea to take her up for that ability at least to a rank 4 level when you're kind of trying to plug the holes in your roster basically. And so yeah, that's Medusa. It's fairly simple to use, fairly simple champion. Furies, armor breaks, destroys robots, has auto block, all you need to know about her basically. And that being said, we can move on to spot number 4, and in my opinion that goes to Venom, because, well, first things first, he is the hands down best Spider-Man champion destroyer, and Spider-Mans, just like robots, seem to be ever so present in any new content, in any endgame content, in alliance quests, so on and so forth. And just being able to absolutely walk all over them is extremely important, and that alone kind of gives Venom a really solid base where his usability comes into play. He's one of the very few champions I have at rank 4 that still sees kind of stable play in a queue because of this ability. Now, that being said, he also kind of unsuspectingly creeps in with additional bits of utility, because he has essentially a nullify in his level 1, which is semi-reliable, and definitely also he capitalizes on it by being able to heal in those matchups. So when you pick your matchups wisely, he's actually a really sustainable champion. Quite often in specific matchups you can even use him with suicides, even though he doesn't have any immunities. If you spam those level 1s, if you eat 2 buffs of opponent, you basically offset the recall damage, so it all kind of works out quite well. And the fact that he can get armor buff can make him a good havoc counter. The fact that he can start the fight off with 3 buffs automatically makes him perfect for buffed up lanes. And again, he kind of seems to find new places, new ways to be used, and how he can benefit players. Now, he does not offer much more than that. Basically, it's good damage, good amount of debuffs, good amount of buffs, and ability to destroy Spider-Man characters. Another kind of somewhat useful ability is the armor break, obviously, because that is quite helpful. It can help you in matchups against stuff like Killmonger, or whenever you are facing kind of like large amounts of armor, or Red Skulls. Red Skull is like a really good matchup for him because you can armor break, you can eat the armor ups. And yeah, again, he's one of those champions that maybe on paper doesn't seem to be able to deal with that much, but all of these little things that come out of the big base idea of being Ultimate Spider-Man champion counter, and Spider-Mans are troublesome. Stealth Suit Spider-Man, Buffed Up Spider-Gwen, OG Spider-Man, Symbiote Spider-Man, Miles Morales, all of these champions can be annoying with certain node combinations, and they just keep shoving them down our throats, and he destroys them. So that's good. So that's useful, and definitely very, very, again, perhaps a bit niche utility, but he's quite decent when it comes day to day. Same as Medusa, he has a good base amount of damage. So he can actually run like your more lightweight fights, basically easier lanes where it doesn't require any special immunities, because he has none. That is a big problem to the guy. He has no immunities, unfortunately. But with all of these like little quirky bits, it definitely adds up to him being quite an impressive member of the Cosmic class. Definitely another thing that is quite specific is the fact that his power basically cannot be drained by tech champions. And that has a lot of interesting interactions with many different nodes, like Plague Mind and stuff like that, because he can basically ignore them so long as he's fighting tech champions. So that's really interesting as well. And again, he kind of seems to be able to find more and more niche uses, and I like him. He's quite quirky. I do not know if I'm going to take him to rank 5 anytime soon, because currently anything I rely on him for in the game, he's delivering at rank 4. So I do not feel any kind of like rushing urge or rushing need to take him to rank 5, but I definitely do not exclude that either, and potentially he might be going up to rank 5 in future. And now that leaves us with top 3. In third spot, I'm going to put Captain Marvel movie. And again, I have spoken about her quite a bit in the new 2019 champion video, because she is one of the newer additions in the game coming out this year, especially for the Cosmic class. And I still kind of stick by my critiques as well, that the biggest problem with this character is any fight that is somewhat lengthy and involves limber or stun immunity, because she can absolutely destroy vast majority of the matchups she goes up against if she's able to stun them. because level 2 has guaranteed stun. It's a really long stun as well, where you can lay in a lot of damage, and if you counter opponent's heavy attack with your own heavy attack, you can stun them again and get extra openings, and that does really kind of help the character out. Only wish her heavy reach would be a bit higher, a bit longer, because it is somewhat tricky in many matchups to punish their heavy attacks with yours, because her reach stinks. It's very short. But at the same time, it's kind of like probably a design weakness on purpose there. And that being said, access to fury buffs again, poison immunity again, so she can deal with like stuff like caustic temper, buffed up. Her binary mode, if you have her awakened, gives her indestructibility debuff for up to 12 seconds, which is insanely long amount. And up until about 6.2, if you're running like suicides, decent synergy setup, that pretty much lets you finish vast majority of the fights with her within those 12 seconds upon the activation of your binary mode. So that kind of makes her like a destroyer of things that you wouldn't imagine she's able to do. Like she can handle freezer burn in AQ, she can do biohazard lanes, she can do stuff like, I don't know, EMP modification and things like that, basically, where that all of the damage over time debuffs or any other kind of like harmful debuffs basically do not mean much to her for those 12 seconds. And that enables a whole new dimension of utility. So even though she's fantastic champion to rank up unduped, and a good 6-star to take to rank 2, especially if you have Nick Fury rank, because that is quite important for the character, especially for medium to longer fights, maybe not so much in shorter ones. The dupe ability gives her a whole new dimension of utility. Additionally, obviously the access to armor breaks on your base combos is quite important, lets you deal with a lot of different problems as well, and she can be incredibly fun to use, incredibly useful and practical to use. Simple fights often are over within 15 to 20 seconds. Within those 20 seconds, let's say, she's able to delivering somewhat of 200,000 damage, 100 and something thousand damage, so that's a lot of damage. However, in 6.3 I definitely noticed that when the fights do get a bit longer, it does get exponentially harder to kind of either maintain the binary or close these fights out as effectively as you'd hope. So there is kind of like an upper limit where she stops being insanely godly and kind of gets brought down to more reasonable level of expectations and performance in longer fights. Now, that being said, if the fights are relatively simple, she can still easily do them and quickly. She's also one of the faster champions to crush through Realm of Legends. Not that it means much, but it's still fun to do. And yeah, all in all, she definitely has a nice, good amount of utility. She's also quite suicide friendly, because when entering binary, she shrugs off all of the debuffs. So in addition to the ability to deal with poison debuff, which you're immune to by default, you also shrug off your bleed debuff if you enter binary quickly enough, and then you just kind of explode, drop a special attack. Your recall damage gets absorbed by indestructibility if she's awakened. So there's a lot of kind of like things happening which kind of can make her an absolute destructive force of nature when it comes to starting these medium to shorter level fights. And yeah, she's a great amount of fun as well. Fits in perfectly with one of my favorite synergies kind of team setups with Quake and Nick Fury, giving her those away charges, letting her be a lot more aggressive. So definitely love her a lot. I'm super happy to rank her up, and do recognize her potential, and maybe even potential for longevity at the top tier as well. That being said, we have to move on now, and we're going to be moving on to spot number 2. And in spot number 2, today we're going to be looking at that's the wrong one, at a Corvus Glaive. And most of the people expected, probably rightfully so, for me to put Corvus in top spot. And fact of the matter is that Corvus has dominated Cosmic class for a really, really long time, basically ever since he came out. Within a couple of months he shot to the fame. He's remained there. This guy, plus suicides, plus some cosmic boost, is incredibly good amount of time, large amount of damage, and so on and so forth. And that is all true. He's one of the best, if not the best. I'd probably say the best AQ champion, because he can save you so many potions, so many units. You're just able to completely dominate opponents. And in addition to doing that, he does all of these fights extremely quickly as well. Now, obviously, there is an evident problem with Corvus, and that problem is the reach, because as soon as you run out of those glaive charges, you're hitting like a noodle. And it's kind of like up to you to invest in this champion, either via suicides or boosts or cosmic boosts or what have you, to make sure, if you want a smooth kind of like user experience, to be able to down that opponent within the first 20 charges. Now, he's still perfectly usable champion if you need to access multiple sets of these charges, but then many of his abilities kind of like start to fail. For instance, when you go in Biohazard lane, you have to finish in the first 20 charges, because you do not take bleed damage only for as long as you have glaive charges. They expire, you start to take bleed damage, and it's kaput. So the problem is starting to get a bit more evident, where maxed out 5-star Corvus is encountering content which he cannot ramp up easily. That's a definite must, and where he might be starting to fall short on his overall damage, even kind of semi-ramped up with a couple of charges in 6.3, because 6.3 health pools were unexpectedly large, and that definitely presented some problems for Corvus. And unless you were kind of like max boosted, running suicides, having a cosmic boost on, he was having quite a bit harder time in my experience. But again, that being said, he still is dominant in your day-to-day life when it comes to clearing casual quest, casual content. He's one of the fastest clearers. He's the fastest Legends runner for monthly events. He still can tackle 6.2 and 6.3 if you give him enough help and support. And it's fantastic for many different things. In Alliance Quest, he's the best champion in Alliance Quest, I'd probably say. And he still can deliver a lot of versatility and usability in Alliance War as well, even though the new map hasn't been that kind to the guy overall. But that all being said, at least from my personal kind of like perspective, and part of it is going to get accredited to the fact that I have been using suicides slightly less for the last couple of months. I still love them, but I also wanted to kind of play about different setups and different champions. And my usage of Corvus Glaive has definitely dropped quite significantly, and when it comes to the newest content, he's slowly getting downgraded from being basically the alpha and omega in the contest when it came to clearing lanes, clearing content, to being a good option for parts of it, if that makes sense. So he's definitely extremely valuable. He's definitely a champion to rank up, and every account, in my opinion, should try to have access to. At the same point, he is losing kind of his role as a dominant personality. He would not be, if he would be performing in, I don't know, a boy band, he perhaps wouldn't be the soloist anymore. He perhaps would be the drummer or something of the sort. He would still be there, he'd still definitely be on the cover, but he wouldn't take that top primary spot for a lot of players anymore, in my opinion. That being said, another thing I definitely want to touch upon is his awakened ability. His awakened ability, it does two things basically. It lets you not die, quote unquote, while you have any glaive charges active, and then it can help you get them back quicker if you consume them fast. The second ability is quite useless, and most of the time you don't even get to use. However, the first ability, the fact that you do not die from any damage over time effects at all, so long as you have at least one charge, is vital. If somebody says that Corvus does not need to be awakened, or he doesn't deserve an awakening gem, they're full of dog shit, in my opinion. Fact of the matter is, Corvus is great unawakened. He still does a lot, but he really shines when you do have that awakened ability, and you're gonna notice it much more in kind of like more difficult scenarios where maybe Corvus is pushed to an edge where you're constantly playing at low HP, and just the fact itself that you can toss a 20% revive on the guy, or smallest Alliance Quest revive, and just carry on for days so long as you yourself don't make mistake, is priceless. You can basically ignore the recoil damage because you will not die from it. You can ignore any damage over time nodes, whether it's Incinerate, whether it's Shock, whether it's active, whether it's passive, it does not matter. Therefore, it is extremely important to have this guy awakened and I still stick by it. I believe it. And yes, I do say he's worth an Awakening Gem, he's worth a rank up still, especially if you have him as 6-star. Because if the health pools get higher and larger, then eventually 6 stars, you will be able to take them to rank 3, and he will perhaps be able to return to his dominant position as a rank 3 6-star, because his reach will be increased, and then his ability to deal with these larger health pools will help you a lot more. So perhaps this is one of the more kind of like strict examples where a champion value as a 5-star will go down more so than some of the others, for instance, more so than Void or something like that. But as a 6-star, where your attack and where all that stuff matters so much more, I still think he's going to retain extremely huge amount of value. So this perhaps would be the time where I would definitely start kind of prioritizing my 6-star Courage Glaive over a 5-star if I had a chance. That being said, I also accidentally duped him earlier today, so he's probably going to go to rank 2 as my next rank up, because why not, I suppose. So if I put Corvus in 2nd place, people are going to think who is going to be the first champion, who's going to be top champion of Cosmic class. And in my opinion, the best champion, Cosmic class, currently in the game, is Silver Surfer. No, I'm just shitting. Obviously not. Like, he's a lemon. I mean, he's somewhat useful, but still a lemon. It's Hyperion. And it's quite hard to believe, but since I had started using Suicide slightly less, ever since that period, this dude has started to shine through so much more. He's able to deal with so many different new problems, and what's the most surprising bit is that he is proving again and again to be a perfect matchup for a lot of new nodes, for a lot of new content, for a lot of new alliance or bosses or champions released this year. So this is a champion that was released in 2016, and in my opinion has just gotten better and better with time, because the simplicity but at the same time the effectiveness of his abilities definitely kind of like increasing, because fact of the matter is he's a champion that can access a lot of fury buffs, that's poison immune, that has a lot of power gain, can spam special attacks, can incinerate opponents, can armor break them, can regen, and that, as much or as little as it sounds, works great. Right now in contest, this is one of the most valued champions in my opinion, for me personally, when it comes to kind of like, if I have to go in dark in any questing scenario, it's one of the champions I always kind of want to bring in, because I know what he can offer and how clutch he can be. When Alliance War has come now, we have different maps, we have new champions like Guillotine 2099 and Warlock, for instance. Warlock can be a really tricky boss and hard to kill, because you can't really crit on him if he has armor buff active. Combine that with the Bulwark node, combine that with infections and your ability accuracy reducing, and so on and so forth. Hyperion just destroys the guy. Spam the level 1s, drop in a heavy attack here and there, and you're going to be able to take down the Alliance War boss without dealing a lot of kind of damage from direct big hits, crits, just by relying on that incinerate damage and the fact that those do not make contact, so you don't get infections, and the fact that it's a lot of damage over time, incinerates, and you just kind of burn down the guy. Kind of same with Guillotine 2099. Put in a dodge or bulwark there, plus her combined ability of being able to kind of like phase and make you miss and punish you, and all of that stuff. But Hyperion just absolutely shreds through that boss as well. And more content's coming out, and every single new piece of content, this guy is one of the MVPs for at least parts of it, if not a lot of it. That being said, also the fact that he's easy to use, he has access to really good amount of damage, really in different ways, because he can put in a lot of incinerates, he can spam his level 2s, he can spam his heavies, he can do many different things. And he has showed that in the past year, whether it was that endgame I went with Thanos, he was probably the best option to destroy that Thanos. Mr. Sinister, he's one of the few standalone champions that can actually deal decent amount of damage if you know what you're doing to that Mr. Sinister. Not a solo, but still a useful champion. And he was for those who are extremely skilled. He was a really good option for the champion boss as well, because he was able to deal with that because of the power gain, spamming your special attacks once again. So yeah, I generally do believe that Hyperion is the best champion in the game. With that power gain, which lets him throw plethora of special attacks with all the new nodes that are coming in, they're kind of like limiting the ways that we are allowed to play or which special attacks we can use, so on and so forth. It just kind of works around it really well. And any new content that's been coming out, he has been useful. He has also been really great in variant 1, really great in variant 2, good in variant 3, but only because it's a kind of like a tech variant, but still he's one of the champions that can take down the final Kang boss, for instance. He's also great for whatever bits he can be used in variant 4, at 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, all of those things. He is a useful champion. Alliance Quest, he's insanely useful champion. And yeah, therefore I believe he is the best Cosmic Champion in game today. But that will pretty much do for today's video. Before I finish, so a quick recap: we have Medusa, Venom, Captain Marvel movie, Corvus, and Hyperion. A few kind of notable shoutouts definitely is I want to play more with Vision Arcus. I want to see him debugged and see what he's capable, because he's an interesting champion with some potential. Obsidian changes, obviously I'm going to reserve my comments on Obsidian once I actually see what they're going to change within that champion. Carnage, extremely fun champion to play. It's not a bad champion in many situations. He might not be the best, but unblockable special attacks, extra power gain definitely can come in handy. Spamming bleeds, despair mastery, heal offset might not be the most versatile, but I absolutely love playing the guy. Hela can put on some insane punishment on opponents. Venom the Duck, if you are a patient man, can potentially be your best Cosmic Champion. I'm not a patient man, and it doesn't fit me too well, but I recognize the people that love Venom the Duck love him for a reason. And if you have enough patience to put in ramping him up time after time, then that's on you. Great for you. He potentially is, again, worthy of the top 5 spot for sure. I cannot use him more than a couple of runs though. Heimdall obviously is one of the synergy kings as well. And Ronan is a champion that you use once a month, but he's invaluable to have, and I urge everybody to rank their Ronans at least to rank 3, because he's so good at dealing with a lot of problems, a lot of tricky fights. You just take him in even at the rank 3, rank 4, and just cheese through stuff, and he's really valuable to have. Again, that will be pretty much it for today's video though. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. Leave a comment. What would you rank differently? Who are your favorites? Who are not your favorites? And yeah, that will do for today's video now for reals. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for mutant and mystic class videos. See ya.